House will please be in order. Those persons not having privilege of the floor will please vacate the chamber. All members and guests in the galleries will please rise as we are led in prayer today by the gentleman, the 17th, Douglas Pinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues and guests, please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you this morning and we say thank you. Thank you for health and life that you've given. Thank you for this free country that we live in. Thank you for this great state that we call home. And Lord, this morning I'm reminded that you said in Proverbs 14, verse 34, that righteousness exalteth a nation. So Lord, I pray that you would help us to be righteous. I pray that you would help us to be right. I pray that the members of this body and the body across the building, I pray that you would help our legislative branch. I pray that you'd help our executive branch and our judicial branch. Father, I pray that you'd help us to stand for right and righteousness. Lord, I ask that you would be with our families, our spouses, children, in some cases grandchildren, as we have been away now for some time. I pray that you'd be with our communities. We realize that there are real problems facing West Virginia, real issues that need to be addressed. And I pray that you'd give us the courage and the boldness to address those things. We thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to serve. Lord, we ask for the opportunity to lead. We ask it all in Jesus Christ's precious name. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing as we are led in the Pledge of Allegiance today by the gentleman, the 93rd District, Douglas Hornby.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, please join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Members and guests may be seated. Reading the Journal.
Journal of the House of Delegates, February 16th, 2026.
Journal of the 18th, Douglas Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that the further reading of the journal be dispensed with and it be approved as having been read.
Journal of the 18th, ask unanimous consent that further reading of the journal be dispensed with and that it be approved as having been read. Are there objections? Are there objections? No objections are heard. Further reading of the journal will be dispensed with. Introductions. Introductions. Journal of the 8th, Douglas Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have two introductions this morning. First, I have paging for essay Ella Powers. She is a junior from Doddridge County High School. If she looks familiar to you, she was actually here on the first day of session, so she's back today. Then I direct your attention to the West Gallery. I have Lindsay Dillon with the Doddridge County 4-H, along with some volunteers and many students. If they would please stand, I would ask the House to please make them all feel welcome.
Delegate from the 23rd, Delegate Worrell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Local Food and Farms Day. I hope you guys got a chance to enjoy some treats made by our local farmers and local producers. In the West Gallery, have members from the West Virginia Food and Farm Coalition and the Food is Medicine Coalition, if they would stand. And I also want to announce that the 2026 Grow This Seed is the black cherry tomato made by West Virginia farmer Julie Sharp. If they would stand up and if the House will please make them feel welcome.
Delegate from the 55th, Delegate Akers.
Thank you, Dr. Speaker. This morning we have with us Paige Avery Akers, whose dad we all know and appreciate. Robert Akers, one of our esteemed staff lawyers, who does most of his work in the Energy Committee. So let's all give Avery a big round of applause and thank him for his work and service here today.
Delegate from the 89th, Delegate Cannon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have one introduction today. Jonathan Bellingham is here. If he would please stand up. Jonathan is representing Cape and Springs Resort in Hampshire County, our historic resort, discovered in the 1760s and established 1849. Many of you have been there for interims and different things, and just like to welcome him to the House. If everybody would please join me in welcoming the gentleman. Thank you.
Delegate Mazzocchi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Delegates Bridges and Eldridge and I are happy to show off our EMS crews from Lincoln, Boone, and Logan counties. If they would please stand up and you all make them feel welcome.
Delegate from the 36th, Delegate Green.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to recognize three outstanding individuals, and when their names are called, if they'll stand to be recognized. Joining us are Tasha Reese of Wyoming County, Patricia Daniels of McDowell County, and Laura Justice of Mercer County. They're outreach advocates with Safe Stop Abusive Family Environments, a nonprofit that has been serving survivors of domestic violence across southern West Virginia since 1984. These women do remarkable work on behalf of families in crisis. They accompany clients to court, collect them with legal aid, and ensure that no one navigates the most difficult chapter of their life alone. SAFE operates a shelter in McDowell County capable of housing 32 families and also serves as a certified rape crisis center for the region. I'd also like to recognize a special guest, Hayden Belcher of Baileysville Grade School, Tasha's daughter. Hayden is an 8th grader visiting our capital for the very first time. If the chamber would make them feel welcome.
Delegate from the 46th, Delegate Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Delegate Canterbury and I have 3 pages today. If they will stand, a couple of them around on the floor, if they'll wave instead. They are, again, 6th grade students at Eastern Greenbrier Middle School. Please welcome Evan Cleggan, Jackson Crane, and Brack McClung. They're here with their parents who are in the North Gallery. If they will stand, Stephen and Brittany Cleggan, Josh and Megan Crane, Sam and Pajot McClung. Will the House please give them a wild and wonderful West Virginia welcome?
Delegate from the 57th, 53rd.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Today is Domestic Violence Awareness Day at the Capitol. We have a number of guests present for that, so I want to introduce just a few of them. In the North Gallery, if everyone from the West Virginia Coalition Against Domestic Violence would stand, we have Executive Director Joyce Yedlowski, along with Stephanie Keys, Jessica Bender, Kimberly Tyler Sterling, Lissa Lucas, Ripley Varela, Nina Minima, and Andrea Brown Riley. And if anyone else who is here with them for the coalition would please stand, please join me in giving them a welcome today. I have several others as well. Among the local advocates here are those in the North Gallery from here in Kanawha County. We have Felicia Bolaños from the Charleston Police Department, and again, if you'll stand as I read your names. Haley Harper and Tacita Hartley from the Kanawha County Sheriff's Office, and then from the Kanawha County Prosecutor's Office, Kelly Handley, and my admitted favorite advocate, Brittany Levitt, my wife. Please join me in thanking them. Another set of introductions is harder to share, but this last December 20th, community nurse Joanna Phillips was shot in the chest in her Sissonville home. Her husband then called 911 to admit to the shooting. As is so often the case, there were a lot of warning signs that preceded this homicide, and I'll discuss some of those indicators today when we consider the Joanna Phillips Domestic Violence Prevention Act. But up in the North Gallery, I'd like to recognize Diane Hamrick, Joanna's mom, Misty O'Neill, and Dawn Hamrick, if you want to stand. Misty is Joanna's sister and Dawn is her brother. They're here to observe consideration of the bill. Help me thank them. And very finally, unfortunately, Joanna's is far too common of a story, actually. The most recent year for which all cases are closed and the data has been compiled is fiscal year 2022, and that year there were 33 domestic violence-related homicides in West Virginia. Although it's notoriously difficult to track domestic violence because it's so underreported, studies suggest that hundreds of thousands of West Virginians will experience domestic violence at some point in their lifetimes. So I would like to close by asking everyone in this chamber whose lives have been impacted by domestic violence in any way to please stand. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Delegate from the 67th, Delegate Coop Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think a lot of us saw the news a few days ago. The Secretary of State was visiting my county, and his SUV rolled over. Thankfully, he was totally unhurt, But today in the Capitol, we have some of the people from Pendleton County EMS that were there in 12 minutes, despite the fact that we're the second most rural county, and they are spread thin for resources. They're incredibly professional. So representing Pendleton County EMS, I've got Mike Alt and Jeremy Hedrick, two good friends of mine. So please give them a gracious welcome.
Delegate from the 28th, Delegate Browning.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am pleased to announce that today's West Virginia Academy of Family Physicians Doc of the Day is Dr. Courtney Beasley. If everyone could make her feel welcome.
Delegate from the 96th, Delegate White.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also have some folks here from the Eastern Panhandle visiting today for the domestic violence. I have several people from EPIC, which is in our Eastern Panhandle. Katie Spriggs, would you please stand? Nicole Rome. I also have Ashley Goddess. She serves victims of domestic violence, over 1,500 last year, and operates a 16-bed shelter. And then I also have Donnell Miller from our new domestic violence home called Eden Spring. Please welcome them.
Delegate from the 60th, Delegate Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to introduce a gentleman that's with us in the North Gallery this afternoon, or actually this morning, and he is my neighbor, and he's also president of the West Virginia Bow Hunters Association, Mr. Ed McMinn. And I want to reassure everybody that all the neighborhood deer in the subdivision are okay, and all the outdoor displays, sports displays are on in the lower rotunda if you would like to go down after session and visit with them. Thank you.
Delegate from the 90th, Delegate Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With us today in the West Gallander. What? West Gallery. Yeah, West Gallery. He's not looking. Kevin Duckwall, he's EMS in Morgan County. Give him a warm welcome, please. Something else.
Delegate from the 50th, Delegate Pritt.
Today we are joined in the South Gallery by representatives from the West Virginia Occupational Therapy Association, along with students and faculty from the University of Charleston's Occupational Therapy and Occupational Therapy Assistant program. So if I call their name, if they'd stand up. Professor Katie Ballard, Dr. Nicole Scheiman, Professor Jackie Hurt, Professor Cody Dendler, Ella Cree, Thomas Hamilton, Hannah Rose, Emily Simmons, Ariana Spivey, Felicity Weiss, Jane Kilgore, Katie Poston, Amaya Walker, Ellie Withrow, Cassidy Agnor, Maddie Lewis, Desange Kamari, Ella Giard, Mallory Crowder, and Lillian White. Please make them feel welcome this morning. Thank you.
Delegate from the 29th, Delegate Dillon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There's a buzz in the building today because we are joined in the South Gallery by a beautiful bunch from the West Virginia Beekeepers Association. If you will stand as I call your name, these include, but are not limited to, Mr. Mike Lamp, President of the West Virginia Beekeepers Association, Larry Morris, President of the Jackson County Beekeepers Association, Paxton Kobe, Vice President of the Monongalia County Beekeepers Association, and Jeff Maynard, President of the Cabell Wayne Beekeepers Association. If the House will please make them feel welcome.
Delegate from the 88th, Delegate Hillenbrand.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Traveling all the way from Hampshire County today, I am pleased to have a Paige Mesa Nichols standing over here. Please put her to work at some point in time. I'd like to also thank, if you'd acknowledge the fact that she didn't walk here, that her parents brought her here. Her mom and dad, Colby and Susie Nichols, in the South Gallery. If they want to wave, where are you at? There they are. So if you'd all give them a warm welcome. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Delegate from the 99th, Delegate Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the folks from Jefferson County in the South Gallery, we have one of the best CVB directors in the state. For those of you who don't know, Jefferson County CVB motto is where almost heaven begins. Miss Annette Gavin Bates. Thank you for coming.
Delegate from the 54th, Delegate Pushkin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Also in the South Gallery today, we have some students joining us who are members of the Capitol High School Young Democrats. And if they could stand as I say their name: Aiden Miles, Isaac Slater, Alexa Spruce, Eliza Clark, Carolyn Slater, Katie Scaff, Tori Blankenship, Braden Robinson, happens to be the son of former Delegate Andrew Robinson. Please don't hold that against Braden. And we have the president of the club, Reese Lovern, and they are accompanied by their faculty advisor, Mr. Shane Healy. And would the House please make them feel welcome?
Delegate from the 24th, Delegate Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, you may have noticed a couple of mature pages today. And we have today from Marshall University, Tony Stroud and President Brad Smith. Please make them feel welcome.
Delegate from the 56th, Delegate Young.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, everyone. Happy Lunar New Year. I've got 2 pages to announce. We've got Braden Miller from DuPont Middle, and we've got Ava Whiteside, who I've got to watch grow up, and she's joined with her parents. They both are. I've also got a friend in the West Gallery who's here for Domestic Violence Day. Zena Izaguirre's here reaching out to all of you, so if everyone can make them feel welcome.
Delegate from the 32nd, Delegate Holstein.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've got several pages here today from Whitesville Elementary School, if they would stand, and also their guardians that are with them in the gallery, if they would stand when I call their name. We have Sawyer Dotson, and with him is his mom, Skylar Dotson. Callie Stover, who has Crystal Stover, her mother, with her. Macy McFalls, who also has Crystal Stover with her. Ella Mills, who has Hannah Mills. And Emma Mills, who has Hannah Mills with her as well. So if the House would please make them feel welcome.
Delegate from the 61st, Delegate Jeffries.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With us today for Local Food and Farms Day, I have a lifelong friend and local farmer, Doug Hanshoe from Grace Acres Farms. Not sure which gallery he's in, but if he'd stand, everybody make him feel welcome.
Delegate from the 60th, Delegate Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, it's Tues for Tuesday, right? So I've got some very special people to introduce. As we know, today is EMS Day here at the Capitol, and as we all know, in all the counties and the districts that we serve, that we have these special people that I think it's not just about pay to them, it's a passion of what they do. They're the ones that we rely to be there in a moment's notice, when lives are on the line, as Delegate Coop Gonzalez just mentioned that just happened yesterday, was it? And so these, anytime, anywhere, any part of the state, these are the people that are there, and we need to support them. Obviously, as we've tried to work that out here with our budgets and such, they always want to be able to give back to them as much as they give to us. And today, on behalf of Delegate Burkhammer and Dittman, I want to recognize a very special young lady. She became an angel to our family. She's in the West Gallery, by the way, above me here. I can't see her on the front row, but on August the 15th this year, we were preparing our motorhome RV, get ready to go down to the State Fair for the first time. Joined Delegate Clark and Delegate Campbell, and got a phone call. And my nephew was in a horrific automobile accident on mile marker 101 in Lewis County, I-79. And pretty much the same type of accident as late Delegate Doug Scaff had. He had rear-ended the back end of a Penske truck in a construction area there along the interstate. And just so happened that this young lady, and I introduced her, Amanda Gum, she's above me here, EMS with the Braxton County EMS, was off duty and coming the other direction and came up on the scene. She was able to attend to Taylor and stop his bleeding enough to save his life there on the interstate. The Lewis County EMS arrived shortly thereafter and assisted to help free him from, and the fire department from the vehicle, and get him to Morgantown to Trauma One Center there, which went on to help save his life that day. So she happened to be in the right place at the right time, but doesn't do it for the money. Obviously, it's a passion, I think, for these people. And there's something else, one of the reasons that obviously it happened in Delegate Burkhammer's district, but he's been so passionate up here to work on the foster program and looking out for that population and things to do to solve those problems. Well, Amanda is a foster child. She grew up, my sister-in-law fostered her in Braxton County, grew up, she has went on, we see a success story. She's out saving people's lives now. So the investment, the time, and the energy we take in Delegate Burkhammer that you put into this and this House that we've worked on these bills to try to put forward, this is the result, and it can be the result. And I just want to recognize her colleagues here with her. Laura Hensley is beside her up there, I think, today, and all of these first responders, these people. I want to recognize, again, the foster programs that are out there trying to do the right thing. And she's a young lady. She goes to church every Sunday now. She's a good girl, and I want to thank her. I want to recognize her because especially my nephew would not be alive without her today. So thank you.
Are there further introductions? Gentleman, the 25th, Douglas Hornbuckle.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, this morning we lost an American icon and hero, a man who was devoted to peace. Let's pause to honor the life and legacy of Reverend Jesse Jackson, a civil rights leader who dedicated his life to expanding opportunity and lifting up those who too often are left unheard. His historic campaigns for President of the United States challenged our nation to believe in a broader, more inclusive democracy and inspired generations to see themselves in the political process. Reverend Jesse Jackson even negotiated deals to free Americans and bring troops home. May we continue the work towards equity, empowering our communities, and faith in the power of collective action. House and guests, please join me in a moment of silence.
House, please be at ease. Thank you, members. The guests may be seated. Further introductions. If not, standing committee reports.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration House Bill 4712, increasing the criminal penalties for DUI causing death to be known as Bailey's Law. Reports committee substitute back, therefore, with recommendation the committee substitute do pass.
Report to be received. Gentleman, the first.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Unanimous consent to committee reference be dispensed with. Bill be taken up for immediate consideration and be read at first time.
Gentleman from the first asked unanimous consent that the bill be taken up for immediate consideration and read a first time. Are there objections? No objections are heard. Clerk will please read the bill first time.
House Bill 4712, increasing the criminal penalties for DUI causing death to be known as Bailey's Law.
Bill to be advanced. Further standing committee reports.
Your Committee on Health and Human Resources had under consideration House Bill 4730, developing a continuum of independent living and transitional support services for youth aging out of foster care. Reports the same back with the recommendation that the bill do pass.
Report to be received.
Your Committee on Health and Human Resources had under consideration House Bill 5430 relating to pharmaceutical benefits and reports to committee substitute back therefore with recommendation committee substitute do pass.
Report to be received.
Your Committee on Health and Human Resources had under consideration House Bill 4760 requiring insurance to cover certain nutrition and dietary needs and reports to committee substitute back therefore the recommendation of the committee substitute do pass, but first be referred to your Committee on Finance.
The report to be received. The bill will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Your Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration House Bill 4819 relating to use of criminal records as disqualification from authorization to practice particular profession. Reports the same back with amendment and the recommendation that the bill do pass as amended.
Report to be received.
Your Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration House Bill 4958 to create the Southern Coalfield Resiliency and Revitalization Program. Committee substitute for Senate Bill 309, authorizing DOT to promulgate legislative rules, and Senate Bill 403, relating to expanding definition of tourism attraction. Reports the same back with recommendation that each do pass.
Report to be received. Gentleman, the first.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that Senate Bill 403 be committed to your Committee on Finance.
Gentleman, the first asked unanimous consent that Senate Bill 403 be committed to the Committee on Finance. Are there objections? No objections are heard. The bill will be so committed. Further standing committee reports.
Your Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration House Bill 4355 to create a new hunting license stamp for upland game bird and House Bill 4577 relating to driver's licenses. Reports committee substitutes back therefore with recommendation that each do pass.
Report to be received.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration House Bill 5273 relating to campaign financial statements by candidates for municipal office. Reports the same back with recommendation that the bill do pass.
Report to be received.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration House Bill 4546, require biennial reports for limited liability and foreign limited liability companies, House Bill 5197, relating to civil action to set aside a tax deed, and House Bill 5228, relating to clarifying the definition of electioneering. Reports committee substitutes back therefore with recommendation each do pass.
Report to be received.
Your Committee on Education has had under consideration House Bill 4817 relating to modifying the Charter Schools Startup Fund. Reports the same back with the recommendation that the bill do pass, but first be referred to your Committee on Finance.
Report to be received. The bill will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Your Committee on Education has had under consideration House Bill 5212 to revise, update, and streamline the requirements for higher education grants, scholarships, loans, and financial aid for post-secondary education programs, workforce development initiatives, and workforce grants. Reports committee substitutes back therefore with recommendation committee substitute to pass.
Report to be received.
Your Committee on Energy and Public Works has had under consideration committee substitute for Senate Bill 256, authorizing DEP to promulgate legislative rules. Reports the same back with amendment. The recommendation the bill do pass as amended.
Report to be received.
Your Committee on Energy and Public Works has had under consideration House Bill 5191 to place rumble strips on all double yellow lined roads and highways, and reports the same back with amendment and the recommendation that the bill do pass as amended, but first be referred to your Committee on Finance.
Report to be received, and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Your Committee on Energy and Public Works has had under consideration House Bill 5398 relating to dates and deposits for oil and gas well plugging. Reports the same back with the recommendation that the bill do pass, but first be referred to your Committee on Finance.
Report to be received. The bill will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration House Bill 5273 relating to campaign financial statements by candidates for municipal office. Excuse me.
Others? If not, Select Committee reports. Executive messages, Senate messages.
The Clerk of the Senate announces that the Senate has passed the following bills. Committee substitute for Senate Bill 1, Small Business Growth Act.
Message will be received.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 104, providing certain state mine inspectors with raise.
The message will be received. The bill will be referred to the Committee on Energy and Public Works and the Committee on Finance.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 188, changing length of term of state political party chair.
The message will be received, and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Judiciary.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 231, relating to value-based payment requirements.
The message will be received. The bill will be referred to the Committee on Health and Human Resources and the Committee on Finance.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 251, authorizing the Department of Administration to promulgate legislative rules.
The message will be received. The bill will be referred to the Committee on Government Organization.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 671, relating to West Virginia Real Estate Commission.
The message will be received, and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Government Organization.
Senate Bill 726, removing cap from municipalities on their stabilization fund.
The message will be received, and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 804, removing physical education requirements for certain middle and high school athletes.
The message will be received, and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Education.
Senate Bill 825, Supplementary Appropriation Department Administration Fund 0226.
The message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Senate Bill 868, Supplemental Appropriation for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2026.
The message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Finance. Other Senate messages, if not resolutions.
House Resolution 15, expressing support for I-68 Energy Manufacturing AI Corridor.
Gentleman from the first.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to further reading resolutions introduced be dispensed with, that each resolution be considered as having been formally introduced and referred to the appropriate committee as indicated on the Chamber automation system.
The gentleman from the first asked unanimous consent that the further reading of resolutions introduced be dispensed with and that each resolution be considered as having been formally introduced and referred to the appropriate committee as indicated on the Chamber automation system. Are there objections? No objections are heard. Petitions, bills introduced.
House Bill 4001, creating Team West Virginia Corporation.
Gentleman from the first.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to further reading of bills introduced be dispensed with, that each bill be considered as having been formally introduced and referred to the appropriate committees as indicated on the Chamber automation system.
The gentleman from the first asked unanimous consent that the further reading of bills introduced be dispensed with and that each bill be considered as having been formally introduced and referred to the appropriate committees as indicated on the Chamber automation system. Are there objections? No objections are heard. Motions, unfinished business, bills on third reading.
House Bill 4106, allowing constitutional carry for 18 to 20-year-olds.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having this bill explained in lieu of having the bill read? If not, gentleman 95th, Douglas Hurst, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 4106, allowing constitutional carry for 18 to 20-year-olds. The bill recognizes the constitutional right of those persons 18 to 20 years of age to carry a concealed deadly weapon without first obtaining a license. Repeals the crime for those persons carrying a concealed deadly weapon without a license. Repeals certain exceptions to the crime of carrying concealed weapons for persons 18 to 20 years of age. Clarifies that a person under the age of 18 years unlawfully carrying a concealed weapon without a license will be treated as a prohibited person if the act was committed by an adult. That is the bill.
You've heard the bill explained. The question now is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? Gentleman the 25th, Douglas Hornbuckle, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the sponsor yield?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Currently, in code, is there anything that takes away the constitutional right for 18-year-olds to possess a firearm?
I do not believe that there is. This really isn't dealing with the firearm. It's dealing with carrying a firearm.
So it doesn't have to do with Second Amendment owning a firearm?
I'm sorry?
It does not have to do with the Second Amendment owning a firearm?
Oh, no, yes. It clearly has to deal with the Second Amendment, yes.
So they do currently have the right to own a firearm, though, correct?
Yes, they have the right to have firearms, and they have the ability to open carry a firearm, and that's what this bill aims to change, to where they could basically putting a jacket on would make it illegal if you were open carrying a firearm and you did not have a permit for 18 to 20-year-olds.
Yes, sir, and I just wanted to be clear this has nothing to do because they currently have the right to hold that firearm. Do you know how many 18 to 20-year-olds population in the state?
No, I do not.
Okay. Do we know the opportunity cost that is lost without licensure?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Do we know the opportunity cost that is lost without licensure?
I'm
How
sorry.
much money could we potentially be losing? So,
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. They can still obtain a license. It's just they would not be required to. And I think what we'll find, generally speaking, is probably most will continue to obtain a license, especially in our border counties where they would have reciprocity with some of the other states.
and how much are those fees? How much are those fees?
$15.
50?
15.
15, okay. I thought it was 50. And do we know how much that collectively brings in right now?
No.
Okay. So during the presentation of this bill in committee, was law enforcement present to give their testimony?
I do not recall any testimony in committee during the hearing phase while I was there.
Okay. Was there any testimony from NRA, Citizens Defense League, or any gun lobbies?
I believe the NRA did testify.
Okay. And was there any testimony from any gun safety groups?
I do not recall any testimony by any gun safety groups.
Okay. Was there any testimony from any university officials?
Of who?
University officials, higher education.
I do not believe so. I do not recall any.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Permission to speak to the bill?
Yes, gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, today I rise in caution. I rise in caution on this piece of legislation. As we've heard from my good friend from the 95th, this is not. This is about the process to bear arms, which is a very stark difference in that. Currently, right now, the way it is set up under our current code, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, they have to get a license, and with that license comes safety training. That is what comes with that. It also comes with background checks. The bill before us today would do away with all of that. It would do away with all of that. And so I think, again, we need to proceed with caution. Currently, West Virginia has some of the highest rates in the country when it comes to gun ownership, which I think is a good thing. Roughly in any given year, probably somewhere in between 58 and 60% of the population owning that. And if we are looking at our total population right now, which is roughly about 1.7 million, that population looks at about 70,000 people. 70,000 people that are now going to be allowed to go without any type of training or background check and go out into society. I had several questions. One of them was talking about any university officials. I believe this law is not going to be synced up with our campus carry. It could cause a lot of issues for our universities and also cause them potential money and having to uphold the current law. Another thing that we talked about was the other groups. So we had gun advocacy groups that had testimony, but we did not have law enforcement, or we did not have any gun safety groups. And I think in this body, when we are presenting and trying to pass legislation, it is very wise to hear from all groups so that we can properly vet the bills and legislations that are before us. I would also like to note that since we passed our concealed carry law in 2016, suicides up 22%. Suicides up 22%. Homicides are up over 45%. And so with those numbers, there's a direct correlation in another subset of population, which is our 18 to 20-year-olds, that they would reasonably rise at the same rate as well. I'd also like to make note that there are two main areas of our state that has also seen the biggest increases in gun violence. Those are our large metro areas, up 40%, and our rural places, up 34%. Last but not least, officer-involved shootings. Our law enforcement. Since we have passed the bill in 2016, law enforcement, officer-involved shootings has risen over 40%. And so, body, again, today, I urge you to proceed with caution, because the numbers bear the truth that when we are not cautious, more West Virginians die. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
From the 100th, right now is recognized.
Will the chairman of Judiciary rise?
Yes, sir.
The House Minority Leader brought up an interesting point. Were any groups precluded from presenting testimony, or were any individual entities there that wanted to provide testimony and were not allowed to provide testimony?
there was no one who was told they couldn't. I mean, and I'll say, you know, we had a bill that was on one of the subcommittee hearings this morning. We did have the state police were present for that bill to provide testimony if needed, and because they monitored the bill and showed up to provide their view on, this is a separate bill, of course, and we're talking about now. So what we commonly see is the agencies, the law enforcement agencies who may have interest, our Sheriff's Association shows up on a regular basis, uninvited and unannounced. They just show up on bills of interest. So I'll say again, there was no one who's told that they were not welcome or not allowed to testify. And if law enforcement had appeared at one of our committee hearings, I certainly would have called them to the stand if they'd asked to be.
So any entity could have potentially come and testified relative to this bill?
If they had asked, yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is there other debate on the bill? Gentleman from the 57th, Douglas Lewis is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As my colleague from Cabell County alluded to, when we talk about homicide rates amongst 18 to 25-year-olds, those are the highest in the nation. And I can tell you from somebody who has had countless friends murdered, killed, shot at those tender ages, that again, lowering the barrier is not, I don't think, the answer. And again, we don't want to infringe on anybody's constitutional rights, but we need common sense guardrails in order to stop people from hurting themselves or hurting others, in addition to what we are experiencing with homicide rates in the country and also here in the state of West Virginia. Again, I don't want to, infringe upon anybody's constitutional right to bear arms, but we have to make common sense barriers. So again, I would ditto my friend from Cabell County's point is that we need to proceed with caution and really think this through. Thank you.
Gentleman from the 14th, Douglas Foggin is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you all for letting me speak. I hope I'm speaking to a green light. Speak to kids every year about school safety, and we speak about the biggest, toughest kid coming in the room to fight, not a problem. Biggest, toughest kid coming through the door with a knife. You have my attention. That's a little bit scarier. But the smallest, weakest kid walks through the door with a gun, complete control. And that's what I hope we're looking for is the ability of an 18-year-old person to control their safety by being able to carry a gun if they want to. The training is great. My kids went through the training. I agree with you. Training's wonderful. But what if you don't have time to get the training? What if you don't have that opportunity? Then you're in violation. What if you're on the farm, you have another farm 7 miles up the road, you throw your pistol in the car because you can legally do that, but then your jacket covers it up and you get stopped because your light swept across the field. I hope I'm preaching to a green light. Thank you.
Gentleman from the 32nd, Douglas Holstein is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the gentleman from the 95th yield?
Yes.
Gentleman does yield.
So 18 to 20-year-olds can currently open carry, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Speaker, if I could speak to the bill.
Gentleman is recognized.
Yeah, we've heard some discussion from gentlemen from the 57th and 25th, my friends who I respect deeply and do respect their opinions about 70,000 more individuals having access to firearms. These people already have access to open carry under this current law. You're not putting firearms in the hands of anybody else. It's just the decision of whether to conceal carry or not, and that's what we're discussing here. So this isn't anything additional to what they already have under current law in West Virginia, just whether they can conceal carry or not. So just wanted to make that clear. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is there further debate on the bill? Gentleman from the 25th, Douglas Hornbuckle, for what purpose does the gentleman seek recognition?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Would the gentleman yield
Yes,
for a
gentleman is
question?
recognized for that purpose. Does the gentleman from the 32nd yield?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you. From your perspective, what has changed that we need this law?
Say that again?
From your perspective, what has changed that we need this law?
Nothing's changed. It's just the preference of the body on whether we want to establish what everybody else above the age of 20 has as a right in West Virginia. So.
Yes, sir. And you would agree, though, you talked about the number that I quoted, the 70,000, that we are now relieving them of any type of safety training background checks that before was mandatory.
For concealed carry. Sure. Yeah, I would agree with that. But what I'm saying is they can already open carry.
But they can't currently concealed carry.
Correct. But
which
they
alleviates,
still have a firearm,
sorry,
is all I'm trying to say.
I apologize.
No, I'm sorry.
Which the concealed does take away the training and the background checks.
I mean, I guess, but the point I'm trying to make is they already can open carry without that. That's the point I'm trying to make.
And I guess the point I'm making is that we're lessening our safety standards.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Is there further debate on the bill? Gentleman from the 95th to close debate on the bill.
Speaker, I'd just like to point out something that the gentleman, I think from the 25th, he brought up about campus carry. This would not affect campus carry whatsoever. The campus carry law specifically states that one must have a permit in order to avail themselves of campus carry. I just wanted to clear that up. And I would also mention that since West Virginia has been a state, 18-year-olds have been able to carry open carry without a permit since West Virginia was a state. What this does is this protects them if they put a jacket on while they're open carrying by turning it into concealed carry. That's really all this does. And I would also mention, I can't speak for other districts, but up in my area on these police scanner things on Facebook all the time, I see these calls all the time that are to law enforcement because somebody saw a gun. This eats up law enforcement's valuable time on investigating something because they have to show up and investigate this if they receive a call from somebody that somebody has a gun. And I would also add that the more calls like this happen, the more you can end up with a dangerous situation because oftentimes the law enforcement does not know the circumstances of the gun, and they may be going into a situation where they fear and act perhaps maybe not quite how one would expect and invoke some sort of a response out of somebody that ends up in a bad situation. So I would urge passage of this, and we can just put this issue to bed for once and for all. Thank you.
Debate on the bill has been closed. The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. There were 87 ayes, 9 nays, and 3 members absent. A majority of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares that bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
House Bill 4106.
Are there title amendments? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
House Bill 4419, requiring certain non-discretionary procedures be strictly complied with by the West Virginia Parkways Authority before tolls, rents, fees, or charges may be increased.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having the bill read? If not, gentleman to 37th, like a Gearhart to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 4419 amends code to provide the Parkways Authority, before raising tolls, may only make such proposed increase after holding public hearings at least 14 days prior to those meetings in each county that transects the West Virginia Turnpike, at which each person attending shall be afforded a reasonable opportunity to speak and be heard on the proposed increase, and also at which the West Virginia Turnpike Authority must show cause why such proposed increase is necessary to address operational or maintenance needs. That is a summary of the bill, Mr. Speaker. I urge passage.
You've heard the bill explained. The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. We had 95 ayes, 0 nays, and 4 members absent. A majority of members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
House Bill 4419.
Are there title amendments? If not, the title is read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4464, relating generally to underground facilities damage prevention.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having the bill read? No objections are heard. Gentleman with 66, Kyle to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 4464 is a bill that amends the code to provide a definition of emergency to mean a condition that requires immediate correction to assure continuity of service provided by the underground facility. Provide that the Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Board has the power and authority to investigate damage to underground facilities caused by an excavator and to make findings, assess penalties, including fines, and require training. Rewrites the provisional notice from the one-call system to provide they shall notify operators in underground facilities within 48 hours and act within that 48 hours. Provides that petitions for judicial review are filed with the Intermediate Court of Appeals. That is the bill, and I urge its passage.
The question now is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? Gentleman, the 64th, Douglas Burkhammer is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the gentleman yield for a couple questions?
Sure.
All right, so they're currently through the 811 system and this, the board already had the power to investigate and assess penalties.
They do, yes, sir.
There's a new provision. Now they're going to be able to put liens on property through that process as well.
After due process, yes, sir.
Can you explain that due process? Because it's not completely laid out in here. We've just added this sentence that they can do it. At the bottom of the bill, it does lay out the process of the penalties. How would the process for obtaining the liens work?
Yeah, so once a citation is issued and a penalty, they would have a time amount of, I believe it's 30 days, to ask for a hearing with the Prevention Board. Once the Prevention Board makes a ruling on that hearing, if they still do not like the answer to that, they can file an appeal to the Circuit Court. I believe it's Circuit Court, right? Yeah, Intermediate Court, I'm sorry. And then if the Intermediate Court agrees with that, then they could then file a lien if it was not collected. So it has to go through a due process of going to a court system.
Okay, so, and just let me clarify that this isn't the actual cost of the damage that the lien is being put on, right? This is the state, through this process, putting a lien for the government on the property.
The fine would probably be the cost of the damage and then any associated fines that they would add to that. But the cost of the damage would mainly be the fine.
I'm not sure that that's correct. So maybe help me understand, because I thought there was a civil style process where if a company was incurring damage that they would then come back after that operator in that process. This was the fining process by the state government.
Investigation of damages shall collect from the board any expenses incurred. I mean, it does seem that they can collect the expenses and have the opportunity to assess money.
Yeah, I believe the fine could be the cost of the damage and an additional fine if they choose to do that.
Could be.
Yes, sir.
But it's not spelled out in there. Is that?
And
I'm not trying to do a gotcha. I'm just trying to run through it. So.
Yeah, and my understanding is that the fine is typically the penalty and the damage that has occurred.
Okay. Let me ask you about the lien process. Are we able to, when we assess the lien, are we able to, and let me give you the real. So a homeowner doesn't do the 811, doesn't follow it correctly. They get fined under this. They get a lien placed on their home. Is that just stay for any length of time until their home is sold, or would they be required to ever lose their home or lose their property or anything under that?
It's a normal lien. There's nothing unusual about this.
Yeah, there's nothing unusual about the lien. This would be a lien on real property. And I mean, at some point, I guess they could force sale of real property if the penalty was not paid.
So at the end of the day, Farmer Joe damages a utility. He could ultimately have to sell his farm and be removed from his property. Is that what?
In theory, you are correct. Typically, they are collected at sale, but that's not what this is directed in intention at. This would be directed at excavators who don't call 811 on a regular basis. There's a lot of due process that's going to go through before farmer loses his farm, in this case, for a $5,000 penalty or said.
Is there a large amount of these penalties that haven't been paid? Is that what's the problem we're trying to fix here?
There are, in my understanding, a couple larger utilities who have chosen not to go mark, and that's the other side. They chose not to go mark. Then the excavator has the authority to go ahead and dig after the 48 hours, and they decide it's cheaper for them rather than go mark, they would rather go fix it if it gets hit, and then they can be fined. It's actually the opposite side of this. It's not the excavator sometimes it's a problem. It could be the utility that ends up with a fine.
Okay. I appreciate all your questions, or answering all my questions. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Chairman, the 84th, Doug Jennings is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the gentleman yield? Sure. Going along this same line, so many gas lines, you have no idea where they're at. You start digging and somebody says, what's this yellow stuff in the ground here? And so you've called Miss Utility, but they don't mark them. The other side of it too is how far from when they come and mark are you allowed to get to the telephone lines or the electric lines? It's supposed to be 2 feet. And a lot of times they'll mark here and you're digging over there and bang, spaghetti comes up out of the ground. Is that, then you're liable?
No, sir. If you have called 811, you have the protection. You have asked them to come and mark. They've had the ability to come and mark, and wherever they tell you that line is where you're expected to be. You're not liable at that point if you dig 40 feet over and actually hit a different line. As long as you've explained to them where you're going to dig and mapped that out, shown them where that is, and they've had the opportunity to mark it, you are not responsible.
Okay. It don't quite work that way whenever you mark it out. But how about a farmer that's plowing his field? Because a lot of times the phone lines aren't deep enough because they've hit hard soil and they bring up the plow, and it might only be a foot down.
I actually asked this question of 811 when we were having this discussion. Farmers who are plowing the field are not required to call, but if you're putting in a fence down a row and digging 4 to 6 feet on a fence post, then you are expected to call in advance. But just plowing a field or a typical farm operation like that, you're not expected to call.
Okay,
you're not digging deep enough to impact them.
Is there other debate on the bill? Gentleman, the 40th, Doug Cooper is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's up to you all if you want to vote for this or not, but I've had this happen to me. I'm building a gate, putting a gate in 30 feet from the phone line, 30 feet from the highway. No clue that there's any line near there because the phone line ordinarily follows the fence row up along your field. And I get 30 feet back from that, and I hit the main line and shut off about 200 customers for Frontier Communications for about 2 weeks. And you all can imagine what bill I got. I didn't pay it. I kind of begged off because my question was, what are you doing putting a phone line 40 feet out into my field when you had plenty of room along the highway? And that's how I got out of it. No, I can't vote for this. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Question again before the House is shall the bill pass. Is there further debate on the bill? If not, gentleman from the 66 to close debate on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Frankly, I didn't expect that much conversation about this bill today when I agreed to take this on. We have the 811 system in place for this specific purpose. It's for safety. It's for education purposes to educate you on where you can dig and when you should call, and they do a great job of that. So I urge passage of this bill. It gives them several provisions. The chances of them actually placing a lien on anyone in this room or any farmer who's out there digging a hole, very slim because most people call in advance. Appreciate you and urge passage.
Debate on the bill has been closed. The question now is shall the bill pass. Those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. There were 51 ayes, 43 nays, and 5 members absent. Majority of members voting in favor of the bill. The chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4464.
Are there title amendments? If not, the title is read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Further bills on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4471 has been moved to the House calendar third reading by your Committee on Rules.
for the bills on third reading?
Committee substitute for House Bill 4573, Foster Youth Post-Secondary Transition Awareness Act.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having the bill read? If not, lady from the 63rd, Doug Dittman, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The committee substitute for House Bill 4573 establishes a new requirement aimed at better supporting foster youth as they transition from school into adulthood. Beginning in 8th grade, the Department of Human Services is responsible for proactively providing foster students with information about post-secondary and transition-related opportunities using electronic communication. This includes resources such as workforce and job training programs, career and technical education, options, housing assistance, college financial aid, scholarships, tuition support, counseling, mentoring, and other state and federally funded transition services. As foster students progress through their high school years, schools are required to provide regular annual informational touch points to ensure that students remain aware of these supports and understand how to access them. The intent of these ongoing communications is to maintain continuity, prevent gaps in the information, and help students make informed decisions as they prepare for graduation. Overall, the bill is designed to create a coordinated, early, and consistent system of support so foster youth are equipped with the knowledge and resources they need to successfully pursue education, employment, and stable adulthood after high school. That's the bill, Mr. Speaker. I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Lady from the 15th, Doug Moore, your vote's not registered. Clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. There were 95 ayes, 0 nays, and 4 members absent. A majority of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4573.
Are there title amendments? If not, the title is read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. For the bills on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4592 relating to college campus safety.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having the bill read? If not, gentleman from the 93rd, Doug Hornby, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This committee substitute allows state higher education institutions to create standardized campus safety mapping data. If the institution decides to create the safety maps, the minimum mapping data is required set forth. Campus safety mapping data shall be provided and made permanently available to local first response agencies at no cost. Higher education institutes shall consult and receive approval from the primary law enforcement agencies serving and supporting the institution prior to procurement to ensure campus mapping data meets the mapping requirements. Finally, the committee substitute provides that the data shall be exempt from FOIA requirements. That is the bill. I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on this question. There were 95 ayes, 0 nays, and 4 members absent. A majority of members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4592.
Are there title amendments? If not, the title is read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4852 relating to regulation of foods.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having the bill read? If not, gentleman from the 23rd, Doug Worrell, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The purpose of this bill is to address the concerns of the Fourth Circuit in the case styled as International Association of Color Manufacturers versus Secretary Singh. The changes in this bill address the issues in which the court felt the law was deficient by moving the dye restrictions to a new section specifically concerning food additives. Some additional changes were made to address stakeholder concerns, including changing from a criminal to a civil penalty and permitting products on the shelf past the manufacturer's prohibition to be sold until stock is depleted or July 1, 2028, whichever comes first. I urge passage.
You've heard the bill explained. The question now is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? Gentleman from the 54th, Doug Pushkin, is recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, this bill is a follow-up to what was passed by this body last year. That was a broad, overly general bill in the words of, in the opinion of federal court. And this is going back to address that by naming specific dyes that we're banning. I just think it's a bit hypocritical that we're taking up legislation to ban certain food dyes, which I agree, they're not good for you, but they pale in comparison to some of the proven toxins that are in the water system of many of our constituents that we failed to address.
Question still is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? Does the gentleman wish to close debate on the bill? If not, the question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. There were 77 ayes, 18 nays, and 4 members absent. A majority of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4852.
Are there title amendments? If not, the title is read, but the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
House Bill 4976 to add definitions for a special plate of Class G vehicle.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having the bill read? If not, gentleman from the 22nd, Douglas Linville, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill amends code to reduce the number of persons required to request the issuance of a specialty license plate for Class G motor vehicles, that being a motorcycle, from 100 to 50. I urge passage.
The question again is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, we had 94 ayes, 1 nay, and 4 members absent. A majority of members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
House Bill 4976.
Are there title amendments? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
House Bill 4983, authorizing the Department of Commerce to promulgate a legislative rule relating to certification of a microgrid district or certification as a high-impact data center.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having the bill read? If not, gentleman from the 10th, Douglas Anderson, to explain the bill. Gentleman from the 11th, Douglas Fehrenbacher, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 4983 authorizes the Department of Commerce to promulgate a rule for certifications of microgrid districts and high-impact data centers. This is a new rule resulting from House Bill 2014 from last session. A petitioner must meet certain requirements to be eligible for microgrid certification. Petitioners must submit a letter of intent including specified information. The Secretary of Commerce may consult other agencies and shall provide a decision. The Secretary is to explain the reasons for adverse decisions, and decisions are final but may be appealed. Petitioners seeking certification as a high-impact data center will submit a petition to the Secretary. The petition is to include information specified in the rule. The Secretary is to provide a decision and explain the reasons for adverse decisions. The Secretary's decision is final but is appealable. Nothing in the rule exempts companies from applicable state and federal environmental regulations. The Secretary will make and maintain forms and standards for all filings. All certified districts and data centers will file annual reports. The review of the Secretary's actions will be conducted pursuant to the Administrative Procedures Act. All letters of intent and all petitions are to be treated as confidential. I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? Gentleman from the 79th, Douglas Hanson, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There was a time when this legislature valued local control and made it a point for our municipalities and our counties to be laboratories for enforcing their own rules and ordinances and doing what's best for people who live in their jurisdictions. But one reason that I have concerns about this rule is because House Bill 2014, the data center bill, took away local control. It took away the ability of our municipalities and our counties to enforce existing ordinances as they might relate to data centers or microgrids. These are things that protect people from excessive noise, which is a common complaint from people who live near data centers. It takes away the ability to enforce ordinances related to distances between a data center and existing neighborhood. Those types of ordinances and zoning are made to be unenforceable by House Bill 2014 that passed last year and by the rule that's up before us today. I also have concerns that we debated at great length yesterday related to water. And I won't revisit all of those arguments, but I will just note that we had an opportunity yesterday to put in some simple reporting requirements before the fact for data centers to identify where they're getting their water from and how they might impact those waters and users of those waters, including groundwater and surface water. But the House chose not to include that in the rule. I think those were reasonable requirements to impose on companies that are making investments in the billions of dollars. It's a small request to make of these companies. It would not hold back approval of data centers. What it would do is allow the Commerce to do a better job at gatekeeping to make sure these are serious proposals where they've thought through the ramifications and potentially taken steps to withdraw their water from places that are not going to impact farmers and communities that withdraw their water downstream. So for those reasons, the lack of local control, the overriding of local control, and the potential impacts to water resources, I'll be a no vote on this bill.
Lady from the 71st, Doug Kimball's recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to address this bill. Yesterday, actually last year, when we voted on 2014, at the final vote, when it came back from the Senate, I was one of 3 no votes from the Republican side. The reason being, I had deep concerns about water, I had deep concerns about the lack of local control, and I relied on that being fixed once we sent it to the other side. I was also assured when it came back that it'll be handled in the rules process. Yesterday, I heard a couple of comments. One, first and foremost, let me say I am not against data centers. I understand. I have a phone, I have a laptop, and I know what technology has done. So I am not against data centers. I'll make that perfectly clear right now. What I heard yesterday was an allusion to this is just a rule. Well, last year, the rules process said we would address water and local control. And I didn't hear that. I don't see that in the rules bundle. I heard yesterday, and as all of you did, the gentleman from the 29th and the gentleman from the 79th et al. Offered amendments to the rules bundle, and we rejected those. I will be a no on this bill for a couple of reasons. I also heard it mentioned yesterday that there are protections in this rules bundle already for water, but there aren't protections for the people of West Virginia with regard to local control. And I believe in local control. I think that instead of local decisions being made about this, it will be with the centralized planning of the Department of Commerce, and I don't approve of that. And finally, one comment, well, a couple of comments that I heard about this may have a chilling effect on the ability for the data centers to come here. Well, I think this will have a chilling effect for the people of West Virginia that want to stay here. They've planned and invested in their livelihoods. They've invested their families and their properties. I also I believe it'll have a chilling effect on the people that live out of this state that want to come home to West Virginia. So I will be a no, and I appreciate your time and consideration. God bless you all.
Question again is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, gentlemen, the 11th, Dr. Fehrenbacher to close debate on the bill. Debate on the bill has been closed. The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, we have 78 ayes, 16 nays, and 5 members absent. A majority of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
House Bill 4983.
Are there title amendments? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. Clerk will go from the first.
Unanimous consent to return to House Bill 4842 for further consideration.
The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate on House Bill 4983. This time, the gentleman from the first asked unanimous consent to return to further consideration of committee substitute for House Bill 4852 for the purposes of an effective date. No objections are heard. Gentleman from the first.
Move to make the bill effective for passage.
The question now before the House is the gentleman's motion that committee substitute for House Bill 4852 relating to regulation of foods be made effective from passage. Those in favor of the gentleman's motion will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, there were 84 ayes, 10 nays, and 5 members absent. 2/3 of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill effective from passage. The clerk will now please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4993 has been moved to the House calendar, third reading by your Committee on Rules.
Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4999 relating to crimes against athletic officials.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having the bill read? No objections are heard. Gentleman from the 28th, Douglas Browning, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House Bill 499, the committee substitute, creates a minimum fines for assault and battery on an athletic official or participant in an athletic event. It adds participants in athletic events as potential victims, modifies the definition of athletic official or participant, provides that any person convicted under the section shall be banned from a sporting event for a minimum of 365 days, punishable as a trespass. It also exempts participants from prosecution for acts within the scope of the sport. I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? For what purpose does the gentleman from the 25th, Douglas Hornbuckle, seek recognition?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ask unanimous consent to be added as a co-sponsor to the bill.
Is space available on the bill? Objection is heard. Sorry?
So move.
Gentleman moves to be added as a co-sponsor on House Bill 4999. This would be a rule suspension vote. The question before the House is, shall the rule be suspended and the gentleman be added as a co-sponsor? Those in favor of the gentleman's motion will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, there are 62 ayes, 33 nays, 4 members absent, less than 2/3 in the affirmative. The chair declares the motion lost. Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? Gentleman from the 57th, Douglas Lewis, is recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the sponsor yield?
Yes, sir.
Specifically, you mentioned that participants would not be subject to this rule as long as their actions were within the scope of the given sport. So my question is, we know that fans can get rowdy. We know how that goes, talking to the officials and some of the participants. So would that same thought process be had for, the crowd and fans?
No, sir. As defined in the bill, the participants would be people or athletes participating within the game.
I'm sorry, my question wasn't clear. Specifically as it relates to assault regarding fans to participants and officials. We know that fans can get rowdy and words can get said to participants and officials. So as long as those words are within the scope of what we normally deem as fandom, would they be protected? Would they not be liable regarding assault, is what I'm asking.
That was my understanding of the bill, that if you verbally, yell things at an official or at a fan or, or at a participant in the game, that this would not, that would not be covered within this, or they wouldn't be subject to penalty under this bill.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. No problem.
Is there further debate on the bill? Does the gentleman on the 28th wish to close debate on the bill? Gentleman does not wish to close debate on the bill. Those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, there are 93 ayes, 0 nays, and 6 members absent. A majority of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares that bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4999.
Are there title amendments? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 5101, the Joanna Phillips Domestic Violence Prevention Act.
Question before the House is shall the bill pass, or the objections having the bill explained in lieu of having the bill read. No objections are heard. Gentleman of the 53rd, Doggett Levitt, is recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Domestic violence is not just assault, battery, and other physically abusive behavior. It also includes intimidation, threats, and even economic or psychological abuse. While the frequency and severity of domestic violence can vary dramatically, it's almost always part of a systematic pattern of power and control that is perpetrated by one intimate partner against another. Of course, our code cannot address all forms of domestic violence. It's just impossible. But it should be structured to prevent domestic violence from crossing certain lines as much as possible. So that's what this bill attempts to do. HB 5101 creates a specific crime of domestic strangulation. In the existing code, there is a simple strangulation statute. It applies regardless of the relationship between victim and perpetrator, and it imposes a felony with a fine of up to $2,500 and a prison term between 1 and 5 years. But victims who have survived strangulation by an intimate partner are 750% more likely to become victims of homicide by that partner in the future. Once they have crossed that line, it just sets a precedent. So to create future deterrence, this bill imposes for the felony of domestic strangulation a prison term of 2 to 10 years with no fine option. Like the other bill changes I'll reference here, domestic is defined as involving a current or former spouse, current or former sexual or intimate partner, person with whom the defendant has a child in common, person with whom the defendant cohabits or has cohabited, parent or guardian, defendant's child or ward, or a member of the defendant's household at the time of the offense. This bill also establishes that a second conviction for domestic strangulation carries a prison sentence of 3 to 15 years. Some of the biggest challenges surrounding domestic violence are the bail or bond established for a perpetrator to be released from jail. An abuser being forced to spend even a single night in jail can give a dispute time to settle or give a victim a chance to get away from the relationship. Current law establishes that bail for any offense can't be more than 3 times the maximum fine of the offense. Right now, the misdemeanor crime of domestic assault only carries a maximum fine of $100, so bail can't be higher than $300. For domestic battery, the maximum fine is $500, so bail can't be higher than $1,500. By contrast, when someone recently broke into Capitol High School's empty concession stand over the summer and took less than $10, they were charged with the felony of breaking and entering, and their bail was set at $50,000. So the disparities here are significant, and obviously money is not going to make the difference in every case here as to whether someone is able to be out again. But this bill would increase maximum fines from $100 to $500 for domestic assault and from $500 to $2,000 for domestic battery. The current code also has enhancements if someone previously was convicted of or received a pretrial diversion for domestic assault or battery, malicious wounding, or simple assault or battery if it involved a domestic relationship, and unlawful restraint if it involved a domestic relationship. In those cases of a second offense, fines for domestic assault are raised from $500 to $1,000 by this bill, and for domestic battery from $1,000 to $4,000. And then under the current code, third or subsequent convictions of or pretrial diversions for all of those aforementioned offenses can be charged as a felony if they took place within the last 10 years, so 3 within 10 years. This felony enhancement is sometimes overlooked by prosecutors, and it's incumbent on them to check all of a defendant's prior charges, regardless of what section of the code they were charged under, in order to verify the relationship to the victim and use this portion of the code. But this bill that we are considering today would extend from 10 to 20 years, the period over which 3 offenses can result in an enhancement. Finally, there's occasionally confusion on the part of magistrates in the state about the bail multiplier of 3 times the fine. The code currently reads, if the person is charged with more than one misdemeanor, cash bail may not exceed 3 times the highest maximum fine of the charged offenses, in the plural. Some have read this as meaning that even if someone violated a protective order 30 times, which would result in, rather than being 30 times the bail, they read it just mean 3 times one of the offenses. So to eliminate any confusion whatsoever here, this bill adds 3 times the highest maximum fine of the cumulative charged offenses. And finally, the bill creates a new caveat for bail. In cases involving domestic violence defined in this code, the court may determine a higher bail is appropriate given violations of any protective order or bond conditions, the seriousness of the risk, and the likelihood of harm to others. This may be also one of the most important life-saving provisions. So this is my summary of the bill. Domestic violence is common enough that many have called it an invisible epidemic, and it's not just common here in West Virginia. Reports indicate that 1 in 3 women in the United States and 1 in 4 men in the country have experienced some form of physical violence by an intimate partner. So we should do everything we can to prevent that, to protect the lives of West Virginians, and I believe this bill will help to do that. So I urge its passage.
Question now is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, there were 93 ayes, 0 nays, and 6 members absent. A majority of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 5101.
Are there title amendments?
Delegate Akers moves to amend the title.
The question now is on adoption of the title amendment. Those in favor of adoption of the title amendment will please say aye. Those opposed will please say no. The ayes have it. The chair declares the title amendment adopted. The title as amended by the House will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Are there other bills on third reading? If not, bills on second reading.
Your Committee on Rules has moved from House calendar second reading to special calendar second reading, Senate Bill 208, exempting certain military records from public release.
Gentleman the first.
Mr. Speaker, unanimous consent to return to House Bill 4983 for further consideration and for purposes of an effective date.
Gentleman the first, asked unanimous consent to return to further consideration of House Bill 4983 for purposes of an effective date. Are there objections? Objection is heard.
Move.
Gentleman from the first moves that we return to further consideration of House Bill 4983 for purposes of consideration of an effective date. This is again a rule suspension motion, so the question is, shall the House return to further consideration of House Bill 4983? Those in favor of returning to further consideration of House Bill 4983 will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, there were 77 ayes, 13 nays, and 9 members absent. 2/3 of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the rule suspended. Before the House now is further consideration of House Bill 4983. Gentleman from the first.
Move to make the bill effective from passage.
The question now before the House is the motion that House Bill 4983 be made effective from passage. Those in favor of the motion will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, there were 74 ayes, 17 nays, and 8 members absent. 2/3 of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill effective from passage. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate on House Bill 4983. Now before the House is Senate Bill 208. Gentleman the first.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Unanimous consent to advance to third with general right to amend.
Gentleman the first, asked unanimous consent that Senate Bill 208 be advanced to third reading with the general right to amend. Are there objections? No objections are heard, and the bill will be so advanced. Next bill on second reading.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 692, authorizing green flashing warning lights on DOH vehicles.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4009, relating to the creation of Portable Benefit Account Act.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4088, relating to certified public accountants.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4568, clarifying abuse of process.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced.
House Bill 4709, relating to changing the process of election litigation.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4710, changing the limit on switching parties before filing to run for office from 60 days to 180 days prior to an election.
Are there amendments?
Delegate Pushkin moves to amend the bill. This is HFA Pushkin 2-17.
Are there objections to having the amendment explained in lieu of having the amendment read? No objections are heard. Chair will recognize the sponsor, Gentleman from the 54th, Delegate Pushkin, to explain the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What this amendment does, it simply returns the bill to its original form, which lengthens the amount of time one would have to switch from one party to another before filing. It lengthens it to 6 months, which is really quite a long time for someone to make that decision before filing to run for office. However, what this does, it remains silent on independence as current law is. Now, you might ask yourself, well, why are we treating independents differently? Well, I'll tell you why, because they're treated differently when it comes to ballot access. If you're not a member, if you're not running as a member of a party, you have to get ballot access through getting signatures and then bringing that to the Secretary of State's office, and that's how you don't have automatic ballot access as an independent. And that's also, you can see there's a whole lot of Republicans in this room, a few Democrats in this room. There are absolutely no independents in this room. Many times when an independent, and some of the members of this body have personal experience in this, who were independent prior to filing, generally when people want to run for office, they choose a political party. So this pulls independents out of it. It treats them separately, as they should be, so they can choose one party or the other before filing and not have to make that decision 6 months before the filing period. So I would urge adoption of the amendment. I will reserve the right to close.
The question now is on adoption of the amendment as explained by the sponsor. Is there debate on the amendment? Gentleman from the 55th, Douglas Akers, is recognized on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill, House Bill 4710, is the same version of House Bill 3305 that passed this body last year by a vote of 82 to 9. What this current language that's in the bill now does is actually places the bill in the same form that it was last year when it passed this body. I would urge rejection of the gentleman's amendment. The language that's presently before you in the bill is the same language that was voted on and passed this body last year. That was the work of the committee and the intent of the bill when it reached the floor. Urge rejection.
Is there further debate on the amendment? Gentleman from the 18th, Douglas Butler, is recognized on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to speak about this, I think the focus is a little bit incorrect in what we're looking at here. I think a lot of our members here are looking at this because we are elected. We're looking at it as, should the candidate have to file a certain period of time to say what party they are, because it's important to us as candidates. I think the importance of this bill and of the importance of rejecting this amendment is we want voters to have an understanding, a basic understanding of the policy positions of someone who's running for office. I mean, if you're a candidate who, especially a first-time candidate, maybe for city council or something like that, where people don't know you, you don't have a lot of money, you don't have a lot of time to go out and campaign, if you can let the voters know what your political affiliation is, they kind of have an understanding of where you fall on the issues. Where if somebody switches parties late in the game, that gives the voters less of an opportunity to find out who the candidate is. So for that reason, I support the bill, but I urge rejection of this amendment.
The question still is on the amendment as explained by the sponsor. Is there other debate on the amendment? Chair will recognize the sponsor, Gentleman from the 54th, to close debate on the amendment.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, to address it is true that this is the form that passed out of this body last year, same form that was never taken up by Senate Judiciary last year. And I don't think it's because they just ran out of time. I would remind folks that the former chair of Senate Judiciary was also in the same position I was once. He was the chair of the minority party in this state, and maybe saw what an incredible disadvantage this puts one at in candidate recruitment. I don't think that's the intention of the bill. I think it's more in line with what the gentleman from the 18th said about somehow dictating some sort of purity test, really. We want to know who they are. Well, first of all, I seriously doubt that most voters are going to know at what point in time somebody changed parties, unless they're, unless they're like really in on insider baseball, like many of the folks in and around this building are. Most people aren't going to know that anyway. I say if it's about party purity, if it's about some sort of litmus test, that's what primaries are for. That's what primaries are for. Let the voters decide who most aligns with their ideals, who has the best ideas for this state, who the best candidate. Let the voters decide, but err on the side of ballot access. As I stated before, independents do not have the same ballot access that members of a political party do. That's why they are treated differently in regards to the current law and in regards to the original bill that was introduced by my friend from 32nd. That's how he originally introduced the bill. From what I understand, there was a last-minute sub in the committee that placed independents under the same type of guidelines, which really is excessive to ask someone to make that decision 6 months before they decide to file. I will remind us in here, there are several people, and I'm not going to call anybody out, several people who would not have been able to run for office the first time, sitting on this side of the room, several people who would not have been to run for office the first time had this law been in effect. Think about that before you vote. My friend brought up municipal races. I know several people who are on the ballot this year who also work in this building as lobbyists. They're good people, they're our friends. Because they're lobbyists, they might not want to claim a political party or the other, but when they run for city council, they do, so they can have ballot access. Also, it's very unlikely, while independents are the fastest growing voting bloc in the country and even in West Virginia, people don't tend to vote for them. How many independents are elected in this building? How many independents are, if you have a partisan municipal government, how many independents serve on your city council? None. None here in Charleston, none in this building. And that's why people tend to choose a political party before they file. But independents must be treated differently because they don't have that same ballot access. Now, if your intent is simply to make it harder for the minority to recruit candidates, well, I hope and pray that everybody lives long enough to be in the position that we're in. Because at this rate, if you're closing your primaries and saying independents can't vote in the primaries, now you're saying you're making it harder for independents to run for office. Keep that up, and you will be in this position much sooner than you think.
Debate on the amendment has been closed. The question is, shall the amendment be adopted? Those in favor of adoption will please say aye. Aye. Those opposed will please say no. No. Roll call is requested. Is the request sustained? Request is sustained. The question is, shall the amendment be adopted? Those in favor of adoption of the amendment will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. There were 12 ayes, 81 nays, and 6 members absent. Less than a majority in the affirmative. The chair declares the amendment lost. Are there other amendments to the bill? If not, the bill will be advanced to third reading. Next bill on second reading.
House Bill 5166, to provide notice to any political committees violating the filing requirements prior to assessing any civil fines, giving the Secretary of State authority to grant additional time for compliance not to exceed an additional 14 days.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced.
House Bill 5176, relating to creating the animal abuse database within the West Virginia State Police.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 5182, relating generally to authorizing security personnel employed by the State Treasurer to carry concealed weapons while performing his or her official duties.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced. Are there other bills on second reading? If not, bills on first reading.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 207, clarifying sheriff's compensation for collection of taxes, has been moved to special calendar first reading by your Committee on Rules.
The bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4599, relating to West Virginia Cares background check variance process.
The bill will be advanced.
House Bill 4638, relating to registration of voters and voluntary registration of organ donors.
The bill will be advanced.
House Bill 4765, teacher, school personnel, state police pay raise.
Bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4990, relating to crimes using gift cards.
Bill will be advanced. Other bills on first reading? If not, leaves of absence. Gentleman the first.
For our colleagues, delegates Kump, Roop, and Bryan Smith.
Are there objections to leaves of absence being granted? No objections are heard. Leaves of absence will be granted. Introductions. Introductions. Miscellaneous business. Gentleman from the first.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move, subject to announcements, the House adjourn until 11 a.m. tomorrow.
The question now is on the gentleman's motion that the House adjourns at 11 a.m. tomorrow. Are there announcements? Gentleman from the first.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Rules Committee will meet at 10:45 a.m. tomorrow in the Speaker's conference room.
Gentleman from the 72nd, Doggett Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Finance will meet tomorrow, Tuesday, February 18th at 9:30 a.m. in the committee room for a committee meeting. Your Republican members of the committee will caucus at 9 a.m. in the Speaker's conference room. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from the 41st, Delegate Maynor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Subcommittee on Legal Services will resume their agenda immediately following floor session in the Judiciary Committee room. Subcommittees on Homeland Security and Courts will meet immediately following Legal Services. Committee and subcommittees will meet on Wednesday, February 18th in the Judiciary Committee room. Committee on Judiciary will meet at 9 a.m. Republican members of the committee will caucus in the chairman's office at 8:45 a.m. Subcommittee on Courts will meet at 9:45 a.m. Subcommittee on Homeland Security will meet at 10 a.m. and Subcommittee on Legal Services will meet at 10:15 a.m. and all agendas will be posted. Thank you.
Gentleman from the 39th, Doggett Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Subcommittee on Local Governments will meet today at 1 p.m. in the Government Organization Committee room. The agenda is posted. Republicans will caucus in the chair's office at 12:45. Your Subcommittee on Government Administration will meet today at 1:30 in the Government Organization Committee room. The agenda is posted. Republicans will caucus in the chair's office at 1:45. Your Standing Committee on Government Organization will meet tomorrow at 1 p.m. in the Government Organization Committee room. The agenda will be posted, and Republicans will caucus at 12:45 in the chair's office. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from the 92nd, Doggett Height.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Health and Human Resources will meet today, Tuesday, February 17th at 3:30 p.m. The Republican members will caucus at 3 p.m. Also, your Health and Human Resources will meet tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. in the Health and Human Resources Committee room, and Republican members will caucus at 3. Also, your Subcommittee on Public Health will meet tomorrow, February 18th at 4:30 p.m. in the Health and Human Resources Committee room. The agendas are posted. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Subcommittee on Public Education will meet today at 1 p.m. in the Education Committee room. The agenda is posted. Your Standing Committee on Education will meet today at 1:30 in the Education room. The agenda is posted. And additionally, your Standing Committee on Education will meet tomorrow, Wednesday, February the 18th at 1 p.m. in the Education Committee room. The agenda will be posted.
Gentleman from the 39th, Doggett Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Correction, the Subcommittee on Government Administration still meets today at 1:30 p.m. in the Government Organization Room. The Republicans will caucus in the chair's office at 1:15. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from the 2nd, Douglas Ateslo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Standing Committee on Energy and Public Works will meet today, February 17th, in the House Judiciary Committee room at 5 o'clock. Also, Republicans will caucus today at 3 p.m. in the House Judiciary Committee room. Your Standing Committee on Energy and Public Works will meet tomorrow at 3 o'clock in the House Judiciary Committee room. In addition, your Subcommittee on Energy and Manufacturing will meet tomorrow in the House Judiciary Conference room immediately after the Standing Committee meeting. Thank you very much.
Are there further announcements? If not, the question is on the motion that the House adjourns at 11 a.m. tomorrow. Those in favor will please say aye. Those opposed will please say no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The House is adjourned at 11 a.m. tomorrow.